All right, boys and girls, so now you've already seen how to properly wash a boat. Ryan has showed you that. Now what we're going to be doing today, or Ryan's going to be showing you, is how to properly wet sand a boat. Now this is great for you DIYers, but if you find that you're just in too deep, you may want to just give Ryan a call. And I'm telling you, I've done this. It's a lot of work. I mean, it really is. If you're going to do it properly, it's a multi-step process. It's not a one and done and, you know, just rub this thing and it all comes off, especially on these darker gel coats. Take a look here. Ryan did some test spots. Now he's going to talk about that, I'm sure. And then you can see here the major oxidation, his little test spot, and that's just, you know, some quick tests that he did. I can only imagine how this deep shine is going to really pop here in just a moment. Ryan's pretty much going to take us through our very first step to wet sanding this vessel.
Yeah, so ideally you want to check the condition of your boat, right? You have a good amount of oxidation here, but it's not chalky to the touch, nothing's coming off on your hand, so that's a good thing. So we don't need to go too deep with our wet sanding. Okay. So in this case, what we're going to do here is do 1,000, 2,000, and 3,000. Yep. That's going to knock enough of the oxidation out to make our polishing a lot easier. So that's the name of the game, what we can do to expedite these steps to give you a great finish with not working as hard as you really need to. Okay, so I mean, one of the things that, like you say chalky, so you may need, you know, a few additional steps if your gel coat's worse. Sure, absolutely. So if you touch it with your hand and you see white chalky oxidation residue, you're going to need to take your sandpaper way down, 400, 600, 800, and work your way up from there. Thankfully, we don't need to do this in this situation, which helps me quite a bit. Right. And it gives you a nicer finish. Yeah. So the idea of not going too deep on this is because, one, we don't know if this boat has been sanded before. Yep. So we don't want to go too deep. We can't read how much substrate is here. Okay. So we don't want to risk it. We'd rather be safe than sorry. So we're just going to do 1,000, 2,000, and 3,000, polish, and then ceramic coat, and that should bring us a beautiful finish. Beautiful finish, guys. So the moral of the story is don't neglect your boat. Yes, sir, correct. Yes, if you just maintain it, try to keep it out of the sun, keep protection on it, maintain it normally at least once a year, have somebody out. If you want to do it yourself, great. But that will definitely help your longevity. So, I mean, ideally, though, for the guy sitting at home, would you say you should maybe wax or polish your boat every 3 or 4 months, or is there... Again, it depends how old your vessel is. If it's brand new from the dealership, definitely get it to the detailer sooner than later, just because everybody thinks it's new, I don't need it yet. That's the furthest thing from the truth. Protect it while it's new, because not only is your invoice going to be a lot smaller, it's a lot less time, and you can just have fun with it for years. Hey, you heard it from him. So I guess he's going to show you this first step, the very first sandpaper step, and what you need to do in order to properly wet sand this. So with this, I'm going to start with 1,000. That's going to be the most aggressive grit to start with in this situation. So we're going to use pneumatic tool sander with 1,000 with a foam interface. That foam interface gives us a little bit of play and less pressure. We naturally want to put a lot of pressure on the surface for whatever reason. So that just gives us a little bit of play to where we can put some pressure, but we're not compromising any of the sanding process. So you can wet sand or dry sand, it's up to you. Wet is going to give you a little more aggression, so that's why I use wet with 1,000. 2,000 and 3,000 I typically do dry, just because it's easier, it's less messy. The pad will go a little bit longer, or the disc, excuse me. So that's the reason we use wet 1,000. So 1,000 will get us this. So not too aggressive, of course you can go lower and lower and lower. The lower you go, the more polishing you're gonna have to do. So for instance, say I did 600, I have to go from 6 to 8 to 1,000, so on and so forth. Sometimes you can skip in between, depending your skill level, depending how the sanding is going for you, but typically just go in order. it's a lot less polishing for you. So if I go after this with 600 and then try to go straight to compound, I'm gonna have to polish forever to try to finish these sanding scratches out. So just go from most aggressive to least aggressive. It'll be a lot less polishing you're gonna have to go through. So with this, I'm gonna use 2000. This has the interface in it, unlike the 1000 to where we added the interface. So this comes with it, which is really nice. This is a Mirka 2000. We really like these sanding pads. This process is going to be dry. I'm not going to use any moisture whatsoever. A little less cutting, but it'll do what we need it to do. So with dry sanding, it's really nice, especially with these pads. Eagle Abrasives does it as well. You can blow these out and keep using it. So it's going to get all gunked up with the transfer from the blue. You just blow it out and you're good to go again. So we have 2000 here. I left a little bit of my 1000 sanding marks just so you can see the difference from 1 to 2. So now obviously where I'm creeping over here, I'd usually stop, but you can see how this just isn't quite as fine. So these are all marring. This is sanding scratches. These are all millions and millions of scratches throughout. It just looks hazy. So we're gonna come through with 3000 dry, same interface as the 2000. So we can hit this rather quick. This will make it even hazier, but this is going to make polishing a lot easier. We did all our sanding 1, 2, and 3000. So that's done. We don't have to go anymore as far as sanding. Now we have the pleasure of trying to finish out all our sanding marks. So I have a pretty abrasive compound with a wool pad on a rotary. So what this is going to do, the rotary is just going to create one direction spin real fast. It's going to create heat. Typically you find this in a body shop for sanding, paint work, things like that. Works great on gel coat as well. The good thing about gel coat is you can polish and polish and polish, and there's a good chance you're not going to go through. Again, we don't know if this has been sanded prior, so we're not going too crazy in the sanding, as I mentioned. So we're just trying to get a nice reflective finish without seeing all this oxidation and this mess in here. So you're always going to have dye transfer. Obviously this color is going to match this color. It's okay, it's completely normal. It happens on some one-stage cars, most boats, so it's okay. Nothing is compromised, you can keep going, it's absolutely normal. It's just dirty blue dust. It's compound dust mixed with the gel coat, it's okay. You're always shedding some layers off the gel coat, so that's what this is. If you're not getting any transfer, there's more things you need to worry about. So I have it finished out. This is just a rotary that we finished with right now. We are going to go back over this with a DA machine to finish it out. Sometimes rotaries can leave holograms because it's heating up, and then once this gel coat cools down, you'll see all these rainbow holograms throughout. In this case, I kept my speed on the rotary low and nice even pressure throughout. I'm not bearing down on the machine, just enough to make it consistent without drawing a ton of heat from that machine. The more heat and speed you create from that machine, the tougher it is going to be finished out. So with this as well, I sanded this area. I stayed in a nice safe zone. So with your edges and corners, when you're sanding, you obviously want to be careful because there's going to be less material there, and then you get into the bumpers and things of that nature. So I stayed safe. Again, this is for protection, not perfection. There's going to be a little sanding marks left over in here. It's going to happen. We're not going to chase them because, again, we need to finish the back eventually. And a lot of this will polish out with having to compromise this edge with sandpaper. So it doesn't look great now, but once we come through and rotary the edge and DA and finish it out and get in depth with our polishing, all that will disappear. So what we have, we did all of our sanding. We did our heavy cut polish with our rotary. And now we're going to finish this spot out with a DA and a finishing polish. So what this is going to do is put back clarity into this finish from the distortion from the rotary. So we heated up with the rotary, we got all our sanding marks out. Now we're going to use this to eliminate the damage we did with the rotary. So once this process is done, then we can talk about what kind of protection we're going to lay down on the surface after this step.
So you just saw Ryan work meticulously on this little bitty patch right here, and it took a little bit of time.
Sure, absolutely.
Just to show us, that was 20 minutes in itself, guys. So there's a lot of time involved. It's a multi-step process. I think a 5-step?
5 technically, yes.
Okay. So if you want to do it right, and like Ryan was just talking about, the only right way to do this, guys, is to do this 5-step process, but then you have to protect it. And how do you protect it?
Sure, so there's a few options. You can go with your traditional wax.
Yep.
To be honest, in my opinion, it's not the best, especially for marine, just because of the durability and longevity of a wax. A marine sealant is really good. It's a great option for short-term longevity, again. So ideally, in a perfect world, ideally you want to choose a ceramic coating just because of the longevity.
Okay.
So it's really hard once it cures.
Right.
So it just gives you, I don't want to say impenetrable, but the best layer of protection you can between the water and the elements and your boat.
Much better than wax.
Correct.
So, and stay tuned to that. That's going to be the next video. And we're going to talk more in depth on that. And I'm going to show you some things that I think you'll be impressed to see. But regardless, if you want to do it right, this is how you do it right. So make sure you give a thumbs up. Hey, give him a follow. Where can they follow you?
You can find me on Instagram at sparrowhawk_Tampa Bay.
Okay.
Or you can find me at the website, sparrowhawkmobiledetailing.com.
Perfect. And now if you want to just go ahead, and I'm going to leave those links down in the description, but if you want to reach out to him and you done did your test spot for 25 minutes and you realize you got 30 foot more to do, you may just want to call him. So what's a good number to reach out?
So my phone number is 863-220-2977. You can call me. You'll probably get my voicemail because I'm compounding boats all day.
Yep.
You can text me as well or leave me an email at rchrist@sparrowhawkmobiledetailing.com. But the best way is to just give me a call.
Hey, so the links will be down in the description, but hey, don't go nowhere. This mini-series will conclude with a beautiful, shiny boat, and you want to see the finished product.
I want to see the finished product.
I want to see the finished product. So stay tuned, guys. Let's go.